Okay, today we are going to finish Siman Tov Reish Mem Aleph, and in particular, we're going to start by having some time we're going to spend on is it a mitzvah to build a sukkah or not? We already discussed this a little bit. It came up on our Siman. The truth of the matter is, there's a main topic and discussion of if it's a mitzvah to build the sukkah or not is really in Siman Tov Reish Chaf Hey, and therefore we're going to review the notes that I wrote on Siman Tov Reish Chaf Hey years ago. We'll start with that, and then we will tie it back into our siman. Let's start with an Avi Nezer and his Shiles and Shuvas and Orach Chaim in siman Tov Nun Tes in Yud Aleph. He explains that building a sukkah is a mitzvah, and one proof to this is the Gemara in Shavuos on Chav Tes. The Gemara relates what the halacha would be if someone swore that he is going to nullify, he's going to be mavatel the mitzvah of building a sukkah. So you clearly see that the Gemara calls it a mitzvah itself. Another proof is from Rashi. Rashi on Makos on Chesam and Aleph, and this is a well-known Gemara because they learn this in a lot of the yeshivas with the Bachrim. Rashi relates that the cutting of the wood that will be used for the sukkah is not a mitzvah. However, building the actual sukkah itself is a mitzvah. Okay? Rav Tzvi Pesach Frank also holds that building a sukkah is in fact a mitzvah. This is in the Mikrei Kodesh in Chelik Aleph, Siman Chof Hey at the end of Os Aleph on page Kuf Yud Aleph. He holds that building a sukkah is a mitzvah. Interestingly enough, he says the same exact proof from the same Rashi. He then quotes the Sheltos in Kuf Samach Tes, which says that there is an obligation to build a sukkah and sit in one during the sukkah, as the pasuk says, "Chag Sukkos Taseh Lacha." The Netziv in the Heimek Shaila explains that constructing a sukkah differs from other preparatory mitzvahs since the Torah explicitly says to do so. Chag Sukkos Taseh Lacha. So that's why. So it's interesting because we discussed this yesterday. Here's the answer. There's a specific pasuk over there. That's why this is more of an important and obligatory preparatory mitzvah, which would be considered an actual preparation. This is also why the concept of mitzvah bo yosim b'shlucho applies to the mitzvah of sukkah. That it's better for you personally to build the sukkah rather than point a messenger to do so. There's an important line that's highlighted that we weren't sure about yesterday. Now we know the answer to this. In other words, the Netziv learns that the Sheltos holds that there are two independent mitzvahs. Number one, building the sukkah, and number two is spending time in the sukkah. He then quotes Rabbi Perlau, who interestingly explains that we cannot conclude based on that the Yerushalmi that building a sukkah is a mitzvah. Why? Because the Yerushalmi says that someone who builds a sukkah, and this is our siman, this is why these two simanim really tie into each other beautifully. This is the Yerushalmi towards the end of Brachos and Perek Tes Halacha Gimel, as well as the Yerushalmi and Sukkah and Perek Aleph Halacha Beis, that says that someone who builds a sukkah has to recite the beracha Hashem sukkah, which we learned about the past two sessions. The implication of this Gemara is that it is a mitzvah to build sukkah. However, it's not so simple for two reasons. First of all, the Bavli itself, the Gemara Menachos and Mem Beis Amid Aleph, as well as the Gemara in Sukkah and Mem Vov Amid Aleph, rules that one should not recite a beracha when we build the sukkah, which we know is the general halacha. And this is the accepted halacha. That's our siman that we're learning right now, siman Tov Reish Mem Aleph. Furthermore, a proof cannot be derived from that Yerushalmi that building a sukkah is a mitzvah because the beracha is recited when it is constructed. It could very well be that the Yerushalmi holds that preparatory mitzvahs require a beracha. That's another discussion. Maybe the Yerushalmi doesn't hold it's a mitzvah. Maybe the Yerushalmi just holds that a preparatory mitzvah, a hechsher mitzvah, requires a beracha. What to think about over there. Lastly, the Yerushalmi holds that when someone makes tefillin or daled minim, lulav, the esrog, etc., a bracha should be recited, even though the Torah doesn't explicitly command or allude to making tzitzis or the daled minim as being a mitzvah. Now, the Chafetz Chaim himself doesn't learn that this Yerushalmi in this way. However, he learns that the Yerushalmi holds that building a sukkah is in fact a mitzvah. And the Chafetz Chaim concludes by saying that there's an obligation to build a sukkah. This only applies if you have one. However, someone who does not have a sukkah is not obligated to build one, even though he would be obligated to be in a sukkah when he eats. So this is a very interesting concept over there. So someone, for example, like us, what we do, we have a strategy. We pretty much always stay home and we automatically go away for the whole Pesach usually and the whole Sukkos to one side of our family. So according to that, we wouldn't have an obligation to build a sukkah, right? We'd be obligated to stay in the sukkah when we're going to eat, but not to build one. That is the ruling of the Chafetz Chaim himself in the Ber Halacha. This Ber Halacha, it seems like is actually in some Taf Reish Nun Vav, which is interesting. Now, Rabbi Avram Horowitz points out, and this is in the Shalos Teshuvas Kinyan Torah and Chelik Gimel Siman Sadi, that Tosfos relates that the halacha of interrupting Torah learning in order that the relates the halacha of you should even interrupt your Torah learning in order to build a sukkah. That's Tosfos Moed Katan on Tes Amid Beis. That's where it talks about actually mitzvah she'iev shar lasos evdei, if I'm not mistaken, that Gemara over there. So Tosfos points out if it's a mitzvah that no one else could do, you should interrupt your learning to do. Apparently, Tosfos uses the mitzvah of building a sukkah as an example. You see that it's a mitzvah, or else why would you stop your learning for it? The Shalos and Shuvas Chavos Yair in Siman Reish Hey says that it's correct. States that it is correct that many great leaders of the generation publicly involve themselves with the construction with a sukkah. You see, why are they doing it? Rather, because it is important. Rabbi Menashe Klein in the Shalos Shuvas Mishnah Halachos Chilek Ches Siman Reish Lamed Zayin also originally learns the Yerushalmi that way as well. Consequently, the question of building a sukkah is subject to a machloikis between the Bavli and the Yerushalmi. That's what we're coming out with. That's what we're coming out with over here. Now, according to the Bavli, it isn't a mitzvah to build the sukkah, unlike the Yerushalmi, which would hold that it is a mitzvah. Now, he then hypothesizes that this could very well be that the Bavli holds that building of the sukkah is a mitzvah. So there's what to discuss even within the Bavli. Machlokes between the Bavli and the Yerushalmi is regarding if beracha is recited on something that is not the completion of the mitzvah. Since building a sukkah is a mitzvah, someone who is involved with the construction of a sukkah is exempt from performing other mitzvahs. Wow, it's such a mitzvah that you would be oisik to mitzvah, patman a mitzvah. You wouldn't even have to do other mitzvahs when you're building a sukkah. Probably other mitzvahs that are not time sensitive, what to look into them. Meaning, if it's time sensitive, then you would do the time sensitive mitzvah. It is noteworthy to point out that the Chassam Sofer is of the opinion that building of the sukkah is not a mitzvah. This is Chassam Sofer in the Shalos Teshuvas Chassam Sofer in your day at the end of Siman Reish Ayin Aleph. Rabbi Moshe Sternbach in the Moadim Uzmanu Chelik Aleph Siman Hey on Moshe Sternbach's understanding of the Gra. Moshe Sternbach's understanding of the Gra is that building a sukkah is not a mitzvah. Since the Gra states that the building of the sukkah is subject to the principle, we should not leaven or delay a mitzvah that comes to our hand. Mitzvah baliyadcha al tachmi sena. Oh, that totally got messed up.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's do that later. I'll do it later. He holds that the building of a sukkah is a mitzvah. Yeah. Now, it seems that Ramosha Sternbach holds that there is no obligation to build a sukkah. However, someone who builds a sukkah would fulfill a mitzvah. If someone appoints a messenger, it's considered as if the sender built the sukkah. This is especially true if the sender pays the messenger for building the sukkah, which is the custom. A lot of people do this over here. However, if someone who isn't Jewish is a messenger, this did not apply. In that case, the sender nullified the mitzvah of building the sukkah. Is not considered as if the sender built the sukkah. Even so, the sukkah is kosher. In this case, a Jew, if the Jew is machadesh, makes something new, it can still be considered as if he builds a sukkah. See Siman Tov Reish Lamed Hey for more details of that. Take a look. Oh, that's also the Deresh of Mishnah Berurah in our Siman. Funny that that's getting quoted over here, no?
Did we say what? Did we say what?
Lastly, hold it, and then we're going to open it for questions. Lastly, it seems like taking down the sukkah after Yom Tov is not a mitzvah. Questions, comments? Start with David.
Did we say what part of the sukkah a guy could put up, or
He
we're
could
saying
he
what
could
we
put up any part of the sukkah. It's just the schach at the end. Just the Jew should
that's
just put
it,
up a little bit of the schach. Yeah,
which
he
really
could
only
even put up
takes
the schach as long as
you
it's not
adjust it.
finalizing the sukkah. Yeah.
Yeah, so really it's not because the walls are okay, fine.
Okay. Next.
What about the guy who goes away? Can he get started building sukkah if he builds either where he's going, or build for a shul?
100%. 100%. Yeah. 100%.
Would he have to then use it, or does it matter?
He doesn't have to use it. Independent.
Okay.
Next. Nothing. Okay, this is what I thought would be a beautiful cross-reference to what we are learning about in terms of the mitzvah to build the sukkah. And the reason is because yesterday, the truth of the matter is just to remind ourselves from yesterday, in case we forgot in the last 24 hours, the Dershu over here says that it's implied that the construction of a sukkah is in fact a mitzvah over here. So this note talked about it. We already saw that yesterday. That's old news. We already did that yesterday. This is new news. This is the Piskei Teshuvos who also addresses the this subject over here, and he says tzitzis, tefillin, lulav. According to the Yerushalmi, you would actually make a bracha on it because according to the Yerushalmi, a hechsher mitzvah, preparatory mitzvah, preparing for mitzvah is in fact considered a mitzvah. Some learn that even the Bavli holds that a preparation for mitzvah is a mitzvah, and it's a mitzvah from the Torah to make the sukkah. Someone you say, but you don't say a bracha because it's not the completion of a mitzvah, and therefore everyone is obligated to personally involve himself with the construction of a sukkah and fixing it. And it's better to do the mitzvah than appoint a messenger to do so on your behalf. However, even so, some argue and hold that according to the Bavli, which obviously we hold like, it is not a mitzvah to build a sukkah. However, according to them, there's still a hiddur and an inyan gadol litzroich b'asiyat sukkah. It's still a beautification, and there's a major concept that a person should burden himself with the construction of the sukkah and minimally putting on some of the schach. And then he cross references and says, see Siman Taf Reish Chaf Hey, which is everything that we just quoted from, which was a tremendous amount of information and detail. In footnote number 1, he quotes the same Avi Nezner that we just quoted before. Quotes the same Ber Halacha that we just quoted before in those notes. He quotes the same Rashi in Makos that we just quoted before. Everything, but it's quoted in short over here. We just quoted it in length. You get the full picture. He quotes the same Chasam Sofer that we quoted before. I don't know if we quoted the Chelkas Yov and the Minchas Elazar. Pushes off the proof of the Avnei Nezer, rejects that. Okay, the Heimek Sheila, we also just quoted that, right? Even if you're going to say that it's not an actual mitzvah, it's a preparatory mitzvah. Nevertheless, since the preparation for a mitzvah is written in the Torah, it says in the Torah to do it, so therefore it has chivus miyuchedes. There's special importance over here, and that's going to be the basically the idea over here. Unlike other mitzvahs, that the preparation is not written in the Torah, so therefore it wouldn't be as important, and therefore perhaps might not even be subject to mitzvah b'yosim b'shlucho, in which case it wouldn't be necessarily better for you to perform the mitzvah than someone else, and you could appoint a messenger to do it on your behalf, even like chachilim. That's why most people don't make their own tefillin, stitches, etc. Perhaps could be an idea on that. But and then he says at the end, and if you want to quench your thirst regarding this topic of if building a sukkah, is it a mitzvah or not? You can look at the Mikrei Kodesh, Shal Shuvas Kinyan Torah Moadim Azmanu and Mishnah Lachos. Guess what? Years ago, I looked up all that. And guess what? Everything that we just learned before, that was typed up and a short version of it. Yeah. So obviously, I was very thirsty back then. So I looked into it, looked it up. It's cross-referencing from the Siman, and that is going to be like the first half, so to say, of what we are going to be learning about today. So, any questions, comments on this topic of building a sukkah?
Nope.
Okay, then we're going to try to finish the siman over here. I think we will definitely be able to do it with even extra time to spare. The beracha of Shehechiyanu when you make the sukkah on Chol Hamoed, and a katan, a minor who became bar mitzvah in the middle of Chol Hamoed. So we learned already the past 2 sessions that Shehechiyanu is really fitting to recite when you make the sukkah for yourself. However, we just rely on the Shehechiyanu that we say when we make kiddush, right? We don't say a shechiyanu when we build the sukkah. And the reason is because we rely on that potential shechiyanu, which would be obligated to recite when we construct the sukkah before finalizing the construction on kiddush. Nevertheless, we call makom beracha shechiyanu shavarach miyom tov rishum pot b'skim mitzvah sukkah l'koy me'achag. There's something interesting over here. The shechiyanu that we say on the first night of Yontif exempts the mitzvah of sukkah during the entire Yontif, right? The entire Sukkos. V'lachein gami mo'isa sukkah chadasha b'chol hamoed ein mavarach alas yotze shechiyanu. And therefore, if a person made a new sukkah on chol hamoed, he would actually not make the bracha of shechiyanu kiven sheikar mitzvah sukkah ein chadasha etzlo, since the mitzvah sukkah is in udim. This is something very interesting, all right? And this has to be clarified. If a person is sitting in the sukkah for the first time for some reason in Chol Moed, he was in a serious medical state. He had a medical emergency, and he was unable to sit in the sukkah due to that emergency. In the middle of sukkah, he's able to sit in the sukkah. Yeah, he gets out. He has to now say a bracha of shechiyanu the first time he sits in the sukkah, even if he already said a shechiyanu in the yontif itself when he was in the hospital. Make that clear. And that's clear from what we learned the last two sessions. If this is the first time someone's hearing that, they're going to say, what are you talking about? What am I talking about? Reference what we learned the last two sessions. That's what I'm talking about. It's explicit in the Rama. That's what I'm talking about. And I like the Bach. The Bach is something else. You know what I'm talking about. The Bach and the Shalosh Chuvas. They're quoted. The Dagam Ravav on the bottom, a little over there. I don't even think we did that Dagam Ravav on side, but it's the same thing. He just quotes the Bach. He just holds like the Bach. But anyways, so therefore, however, if you already sat in other sukkahs, and now you're just going in the sukkah, in your sukkah for the first time, Chol Moed, you're traveling and then you came back, whatever it is, you wouldn't say new shechiyanu. Because when you say shechiyanu once, doesn't matter where you are, as we learned yesterday. You say the shechiyanu in the sukkah covers any sukkah you're going to be in. You could set the world record. You could be in 50,000 sukkahs over sukkahs for all I care. Guess what? One shechiyanu covers all. Similarly, if you have a katan shehigdil b'choy hamoed, let's say you have a minor and he became bar mitzvah during Chol Hamoed. Eino mevarach shuv shechiyanu lo al hachag v'lo mitzvah sukkah. He doesn't make a new shechiyanu. Not on Sukkos, not on the mitzvah sukkah. Kevin shahayachayev gami beikatnuso midin chinuch. Because when he was a katan, even though he wasn't bar mitzvah yet, he was still obligated to sit in the sukkah. Why? Because chinuch to get educated over there. Yes, Firas Omer is a whole question there. Minchas Chinuch. Yeah. Okay, we'll get there. Don't worry. I think actually they're already recordings on that, and how that comes. Firas Omer. Yeah. We have over here footnote number 4. He quotes a lot of sources to this halacha. Let's say someone didn't build his own sukkah; he built a sukkah for other people, and he's building it on Chol Hamoed itself. There is more of a reason to say that he should recite the bracha of shechiyanu on the construction of the sukkah. However, the Bechur Yaakov, it's implied from him that he does not say this way, and Sarachi in this specific shiloh requires more research. Okay, any questions, comments on this idea? Okay, moving right along. The Rama said if a person didn't eat on the first night of Sukkot in the Sukkah, even though he recited the bracha of Shehechiyanu in his house, nevertheless, when he eats in the Sukkah for the first time, he would need to recite the bracha of Shehechiyanu because of the Sukkah. Similarly, let's say someone lit the Shabbos candles while it was still day, or at night, the Yontif candles rather, excuse me. Person lit candles for Yontif when it was still day, or at night. Apparently not on Sukkos. And he said the bracha of Shehechiyanu. Guess what? False start. You said it too early. You have to then go back and say the beracha of Shehechiyanu. Oh no. No. Made a mistake. Made a mistake. Kimo came and Misha Hidlak Neiros Mavajon. Let's say on Sukkah, someone lit candles, which they were supposed to before Yontif started. Oba Laila Loba Sukkah. Or let's say he lit the candles on Sukkah itself. It was already night, but he didn't light in the Sukkah itself. Beru Shehechiyanu. But the woman recited the beracha of Shehechiyanu when she lit candles. Guess what? Mevarach shuv Shehechiyanu kishenichnes l'Sukaso. When she or he, let's say a bachelor, he had to light candles, Macher, right? When the person who lit the candles, when the madlik lit the candles and said Shehechiyanu, that Shehechiyanu did not cover Shehechiyanu that you need to recite in the Sukkah. So therefore, you need to say a new Shehechiyanu when you get in the Sukkah. This never happens because you're going to be saying kiddush anyways and be covered by kiddush. So how this would happen is, guess what? If it was one guy who's by himself, he was lighting, and you would say, wait, I don't need to say shechiyanu, I already said it. No, that's only if you lit in the sukkah itself. However, if you didn't light in the sukkah itself, so then you would need to say it. If you didn't light in the sukkah itself, then you would need to say a new shechiyanu, like kiddush. That would be the difference. I think that's very logical. Same idea. Similarly, if someone said kiddush in the sukkah and said the beracha of shechiyanu, however, after some time, he was informed that the sukkah was psula. It was not a kosher sukkah. It's invalid. He has to say the beracha of shechiyanu afterwards when the sukkah becomes kosher, because the beracha doesn't count for the sukkah. It wasn't kosher. Oh, footnote 7. Wait a second. Make that footnote 6. Coming to exclude from the Bach and the Shalos and Shuvas, the Rama saying not like the Bach, who holds that you wouldn't make a beracha again, shechiyanu, on the sukkah, even if you said the beracha of shechiyanu when you weren't in the sukkah. Dagel Mervava agrees to him. That's what we spoke about last time in the Sefer Chazon Avadja. He quotes a lot of poskim, Svardi poskim, who argue on this Rama, and he concludes Safek Brachas you shouldn't make another beracha of shechiyanu, and that's the Shalos Shuvas or Letzion says as well, based on the minhag of Svardim. So there would be a difference with Ashkenazim and Svardim regarding this specific Shiloh. If you said Shehechiyanu, not in the Sukkah, would it cover for you in the Sukkah? Would it cover your Shehechiyanu for the Sukkah? We say no, you need to make a new one. Svardim say yes, it will cover you and you would not make a new one. It's an important nuance and difference between Svardim and Ashkenazim over here. Footnote number 7 specifies, let's say this is talking about someone who doesn't have a wife, or wife's not there, so he's got a light. Difference would be what we just discussed. Sefer Alich Shlomo, he says that let's say you have a woman who's lighting when it's still day or outside of the sukkah, it's correct that she should have in mind and that she should answer Amen on the shechiyanu that she hears from her husband during kiddush on the mitzvah of sukkah, even though she's not obligated, she's allowed to enter into the obligation, so to say. But if she didn't hear for her husband, then she should not make the beracha herself. That's an interesting ruling. So according to Rosh Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, she wouldn't make the beracha herself, shechiyanu, again in the sukkah, which is weird because up until this point we were saying for the Ashkenazim that we would. So I think that there's what to look into that more. Okay, lastly, last part of the Siman. Regarding the hiddur of shechiyanu on the first night. Okay, it's the same point. If you did eat at night in the sukkah, but the sukkah wasn't yours, you went out, wasn't your sukkah. You don't need to now return and make the beracha of shechiyanu when you're going to come to sit in your actual sukkah. Because the main beracha is on the construction of the sukkah, and that was established because of the happiness the person gets from a mitzvah which isn't so frequent and comes from time to time. V'chein b'kol makom sheyoishev Belel Sukas and Mavarach Shechiyanu Shaper Yishbo Shevach Lodo Gam Ala Sukkah Shalo. And therefore, in any place where a person's going to sit on the night of Sukkos, and he says in any sukkah, and he says the beracha of Shechiyanu, that's already a praise. That's a thanks to Hashem for His sukkah. Here it is, not like the mess up of the dersha. And you don't even need to strive that it should be your own sukkah on the first night of Sukkos. Kidei levar shechiyanu, in order to recite the beracha of shechiyanu. Yishu b'Sukkos, when you're in your own sukkah. So what this is saying is, you would think, since you built your own sukkah, and the shechiyanu that you would need to say technically is only on the sukkah that you built, because that's the happiness, you built it for yourself. You would think that you should stay specifically in that sukkah on the first night. That's what we're coming to learn. Otherwise, no, you don't need to do so. You don't need to specifically stay in your sukkah. It could be in any sukkah. Some interestingly say that you should actually strive to be in your own sukkah. However, some say that it is correct to strive to be in your own sukkah, and if you weren't there, it's correct when you're going to come there, your sukkah for the first time, after not being there on the first night, you should take a new type of fruit that you haven't eaten in a while, or a new expensive garment, new expensive suit, make the beracha of shechiyanu on that, and have in mind that it will cover the sukkah. This is the best way of performing the mitzvah. In the letter of law, we don't find the poskim say to do this.
No 15.
15?
Yeah, that's who says you should try and get a fruit, etc., stuff like that.
No, the fruits, no, this, no. 15 is going on, you should try to be in your own sukkah.
That's not going on.
Fisher and the Divrei Yaakov. The Sefer Evan Yisrael is the one who says that you don't need to do that.
But 15 is the one who says that you should strive to do it.
We could look it up.
I'm not saying I'm going to be doing this. I'm just curious who says you have to go so far out of your
Yeah,
way.
we'll look it up anyways. We have another 10 minutes.
And,
In the meantime, Parak Test in Sefer Yeshua is up and running. That's everyone's obligatory homework.
we're not getting emails about it.
No, I sent you the first one. You know how to find the second and third.
Okay.
That's it. It's obligatory homework. And what else? And you also have to catch up for the rest of Yeshua that you didn't do.
How long is that first one? The one you
Not
sent us?
long. I think altogether it's less than an hour and a half. All three.
Oh,
Three. Not long at all. I know it couldn't have been longer. More Torah Hakadosh. It's very upsetting, but it's to the point. I didn't drag it out. Very well prepared. Very insightful. Very important to learn about. Okay, so we're gonna start with what are we gonna start with? The Rivavos? Rivavos is usually short. Rivavos, Ephraim. We got, what do we have over here? Chelik Vav Simin Shin Lamed Zayin. Chelik Vav Shin Lamed Zayin. Here it is. Is it long or short? Oh, it's a long one. Oh no, I'm so scared and petrified. The length is intimidating me. Okay, so it's gonna be in Os Aleph, which is definitely the larger one. We were talking about the Nusach. Shehechiyanu. Here it is, right here, this little thing. Mekevan Shapam Achas Rayitzi Shemaran. Okay. Beracha Shehechiyanu Suka Valinu. Posi B'Sheil De Be'emes Sarach Levar Shehechiyanu Abniyas Suka. Ach Inu Mevarchinu Memamtinin Ad Kiddush. Ve'az B'Shah Shehechiyanu and Mevarchin Gam Sukin Eshalti. Be'echad Shabana Suka B'Chol HaMoed Im Sarach Levar Shehechiyanu B'Shas Binyan Alo. You build a sukkah during Shehechiyanu, do you need to recite the shechiyanu on Chol HaMoed? Okay, it doesn't really address that. Someone would say you don't need to say shechiyanu if you built it so Chol HaMoed. It's not a question. Ikr hadavar, Ikr hadin ish levarach. Right. If you would build the sukkah during Chol HaMoed, you'd have to say shechiyanu. Because really you're supposed to shechiyanu. It's just that we rely on the kiddush. If there's no kiddush, If not now, when? Now is the time to do it. On Chol Moed, else you're not gonna have another time.
Is this a situation where he has no other options? He can't like go to a shul or someone else? Why is he?
He built his own sukkah. What do you mean? He
Sounds
went
like
to his own
building a
sukkah to
sukkah.
sleep there.
You know what I'm saying? Sounds like it's more problematic to build. It's not really honoring the mode.
Is that? Your
I
sukkah
hear
to
it.
sleep and to eat
He
it.
wants-
Not
he
be
wants to sleep
practical
and
to
sleep.
bring a whole family to a shul that's not
Saying
next
he wants
door.
to sleep.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And he says tangentially, "Va'agav binyan berachas azman ala sukkah reisi davar temu b'prima god mitzvah tafresh lam delish kosim dafnu yish davar shulchan besocha bayis kosim kosim neinu yayitzim kalkin kein balan rishon ninachal b'lafim zeshum shem tavar v'tamahani davar tam kol bin mefarshim masukah b'kor. No, this is something else. Okay, it might be this entire long thing. Binyan a sukkah b'chol hamoed. Let's see what we got over here. Tavim kabel, kashal liyaktiv amarti lechtov. Rivers being shechiyanu, v'chim yichli v'rikpavis v'kabiktikov v'gad mevarchin shechiyanu lakos. Kai shechiyanu la sukkah gam kinu. Comes to the initial of the echad shemana b'sukkah b'chol hamoedim. So im yesh. Just look what I wrote about over there. V'hine imo bana b'sukkah. As minas svara hayashim esam avshul yisim b'furish alu shechiyanu. It's the same thing from before. But yisi b'sefer nefesh chayil d'em margilu j'min tavish cham d'mishi mishi b'shon d'vishum achim d'yishim shel kol yimei achag yishal kol panim mitzvah she'asa sukkah koyd machav givar shechiyanu b'shas asiyasa. If someone knows he's not going to be sitting in the sukkah at all for sukkahs, still a mitzvah to him to make a sukkah before Yantif and even say shechiyanu. It's a kiddush though, what do you think? If you know
Didn't we say
clearly
this?
you're not in the sukkah, if
Wait, is that
you
the
know that you're not going to sit in the sukkah and sukkahs, then what's the point of you building a sukkah?
wait? Is that the case Shai said before, where you built a sukkah, but in a neighborhood where someone would use it or something, right? But this is a case where no one would use it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So he's saying like if no one's going to use it, there's no mitzvah for you to build it. Whole point of building it is only so that you can use it.
Okay.
I think he's going to go into it over here. You built a sukkah for yourself, and then you would have to technically say shechiyanu, but you're waiting for kiddush. What's the story if you make kiddush in your friend's sukkah, and you said shechiyanu over there, then you went to your sukkah, you're going to be obligated to make a new shechiyanu or not? So the main doubt is, according to us, that we don't have the custom to make the beracha of shechiyanu when we build a sukkah, as it says in Siman Tav Reish Mem. Of course, we rely on the beracha that we say in kiddush. Sukas so asher lefiza hadin hani mechayiv shachzir avar kishachazul l'suchid bel rishon lefish b'chur basically yeshiv achiyiv shar lo mekibib b'chur shelo his kurbi. It's far fetched to say that you need to say new shechiyanu when you.
It's far, but he said everybody else said
It would be logical to say that you would, but it's far fetched to say that you do. Make a new shechiyanu when you go to your own sukkah, when you already heard kiddush in your friend's sukkah. Oh, here it is. This is a common shayla that comes out that people eat at their family, extended family, on the first night of sukkahs, and then they go to their house next day. In that case, when you go to your sukkah, it's good to take a new fruit and make the bracha on it, and you'll fulfill your obligation with both. AKA the shechiyanu and the sukkah, and you have the new fruit there. And he says that's what Rav Asher Sonnenfeld says in his Sefer Nezer Harosh. Hayalo Sukkah Saruch Lavar Chol Moed Be'eshav on a Sukkah. But when Rizal's turn, Chilik over there, okay, fine. Then he's already going to Choma. So this is insightful. But again, others say that this is the Chiddush that we don't really find. But there is an opinion out there who holds that if you didn't eat in your own sukkah on the first night of Sukkos, and you are
Go back to your own stuff.
going to go back to your own sukkah the next day, you should actually try to put on a nice new suit then, which is very expensive, that you typically don't buy, or it's much more cost efficient to just buy a fruit for $5 that you usually don't get, and then you recite a shechiyanu on that, and you have it in mind that it will cover the potential building of the sukkah. We could also add that a lot of times on Yontif, it's much harder to get to your 100 brachos because the Shemona Esrei are shorter. So with the Shehechiyanu, that'll get one more in the bag for you, your bag of brachos. So that is something to definitely consider. Okay, so this is Siman Tov Reish Mem Aleph, and I thought it was a nice little Siman. So basically, what the game plan will be is we're gonna try to do Tov Reish Mem Beis next, Gimel, and then Daled. We're gonna try to get those three Simanim there relatively short, and I think that will be the move because then we'll already feel like we already did Simanim over here. You could just see the size. This is in the Torah. See, Tov Reish Mem Beis is very small. Mem Gimel is a little bit longer, and Mem Daled. I think we could do all of these. Four Sukas. So I think it'll be nice. We'll get like small different areas of learning, good tidbits and everything. And all right. So we'll pick it up from here on Monday, yeah? All right, everyone should have a wonderful day and a good Shabbos. Tava, keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Uvi
All right.
Yep.
All right. Have a good Shabbos.
Yeah.